I recently stumbled upon some vintage J. Crew adverts from the 80s and 90s, and I've become totally infatuated with them. There's just something so effortless and timeless about the clothes they're wearing and how they're styled. They look like photos from a forgotten time. Even though I never owned any J. Crew clothing, I almost feel nostalgic when I'm looking at these. And yet, all these photos look like they could have been taken today. So I started looking a little bit more closely at these adverts, and the rabbit hole goes a bit deeper than I thought. So in today's video, I thought I'd share it with you and see what you think. Let's get into it. Today, J. Crew is of course a huge American clothing brand, but it started off as Popular Club Plan back in 1947. And it wasn't until 1983 they actually rebranded into J. Crew. Although, as the story goes, they almost became J. Coke. The owner Arthur Seneda originally wanted to name the brand after English magistrate Sir Edward Coke, for some reason. But they eventually settled on J. Crew, with the J being borrowed from J Press, an Ivy League clothier, and Crew, which is apparently another word for rowing in America. So you can see the kind of audience they were targeting with their name, but more on that later. Part of the rebrand was to become a catalogue-only retailer, or source guide as they called it. So they didn't have a physical store and everything was mail order. And all the photos you're seeing in today's video are from those catalogues. And I suppose it's not too different from today, where catalogues have just been replaced by websites. It's pretty obvious though that the style they were going for was heavily inspired by Ralph Lauren, except at a much more affordable price. Although I don't see J. Crew as a knockoff brand, it's clear that everything was designed with intention and function, and they seem to have carved their own unique and recognisable look. But that didn't stop them from being labelled as preppy, which is broadly described as an old money, upper class style influenced by East Coast American universities. And that's no surprise to me, given their clear influences and the meaning behind their name. Nevertheless, Tierney Horn, who was the creative director at J. Crew during the 80s, didn't like that comparison. According to Maddie Bullock, who wrote a book on J. Crew, he said, "We were cool, preppy wasn't cool." By the way, Bullock's book is called The Kingdom of Prep, and it does a real deep dive behind the scenes of J. Crew, and a lot of the quotes in today's video are from that book. So for sure go and check it out. Now I dabble in the preppy look from time to time, but it's never had much sticking power with me. However, the way it's done in these vintage J. Crew catalogues really inspires me. The layering, mixture of textures, colours and prints, the accessorizing, very few logos on show. It all looks so well thought out and constructed, yet really casual and wearable. Here's one of my favourites. He's got the fisherman jumper laid over what looks to be a rugby shirt. Not a combination I've ever thought of, but it really works. Then he's got the relaxed chinos tucked into his socks, which is such a chavvy thing to do here in the UK, yet he makes it look so stylish. And on top of that, is he rolling a joint? I mean, I'm sure he's not, but the thought of that is hilarious. And here's a funny detail. The text on the side encourages the buyer to size up with the chinos and cinch them in at the waist with a belt for that down on the farm look. Here's another one I really like, wrapped up warm for winter with the striped shirt underneath a velvet looking green top that they describe as being the perfect balance between a sweater and a jacket. He has a simple pair of straight leg jeans that have been rolled up at the ankle and some suede shoes. All very stylish yet very practical. I also couldn't resist but to show you this one. This is a Christmas advert from 1996, so they were probably being playful, but it's just hilarious. This guy picking up a pizza, wearing a red onesie with a suit jacket, huge gloves and socks under Birkenstocks. The most mishmash outfit ever, and yet it looks good. I don't know why, but it just does. Now, expanding a bit on what I said in the intro, one of the things that really draws me to these photos is the perceived authenticity. It goes without saying that all fashion lifestyle photo shoots are staged, but there's something so visceral about these particular ones, like they're real people rather than models. And it turns out that was very much curated by the J. Crew team. They'd have huge crews of models and they'd assign them tasks and activities and then just allow them to get on with it. It was important for them not to act like models, so no posing for the camera or fake smiles. Apparently the 2 rules for a good J.Crew picture was that they always had to be in motion and it had to look like a snapshot a friend might take of you, not a staged photo shoot. This was to ensure that the models looked like real people who you might see out and about, and not a marketing campaign where they were trying to sell you something, even though they were. I think they captured it perfectly, and that's why these photos, along with the clothes they're wearing, seem so timeless. What's crazy is that these catalogues were both free and issued frequently. In an article by Sarah Brown, someone describes the catalogue as something you could pore over like a magazine. But unlike most fashion magazines, these were things you could get your hands on. Maybe you couldn't afford everything, but it was accessibly priced. It was within reach. And within the catalogues, they had recurring characters, which gave the readers an attachment and an interest to see what they were up to each season. Matthew Barney was one of the most loved characters, and apparently during a 1989 shoot in Oxford, Mississippi, he was chased all over campus by a group of fans like a celebrity. Many fans of the brand recall how the catalogue felt like a story, but one they could be a part of. But as we all know, catalogues were never going to last forever, especially with the rise of the American mall, or the shopping centre as we call it in the UK. This is where people could instantly get their hands on pieces and not have to wait days or weeks for them to arrive in the mail. And I assumed this was where the J.Crew love story was going to end, but apparently not. In 1989, J.Crew opened their first store in New York, and it was hugely successful. Lines of people desperate to get in, pieces instantly selling out, and this was only magnified when celebrities such as Gwyneth Paltrow and Jessica Alba were seen wearing their stuff. But the sad part was inevitable. As many of you probably already know, in 2020 J.Crew filed for bankruptcy with more than $1 billion of debt. Some believe it was due to mismanagement and a drop in quality, while others believe that the brand was just being held up by their catalogues and the magic eventually wore off. In truth, it was probably a mixture of all of them. Nevertheless, J.Crew will always go down as a brand that introduced many people to fashion. It seems like they were truly one of the first hype brands, but their hype was created through genius marketing and genuine style. For many, their catalogues and the photos within them are a capsule of a simpler time. And today, a lot of people are eager to get back to that. And that's why we're seeing this kind of style re-emerge. J.Crew themselves seem to be trying to recapture some of the old times with their recent marketing. It's funny how so many brands eventually go back to their roots. It begs the question why they ever left in the first place. Anyway, I never thought I'd make a dedicated video on a topic like this, but it just really piqued my interest recently. Hopefully you found it enjoyable, and if you'd like me to do any more videos like this, please do let me know. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.